Hello heads, welcome back to Gefilte Fish, your source for fish and jam related content on YouTube. Today we will be breaking down the Reba Jam from June 16th, 2000 at the Zepp Arena in Osaka. Zepp Osaka is a small venue in Osaka, Japan, where Phish played their residency out in Osaka during the Japan tour in 2000 and 1999. And this is a 16-minute and 43-second song in total, with about a 10-minute jam section, and I believe there is a whistling outro similar to most Rebas. However, some do not have that. So let's just break this down and totally check out this jam in its entirety, and see how this is unique from maybe some other Reba jams for reference, and see kind of where this jam goes, how it navigates, how Trey and the band kind of communicate in a way that kind of elevates this jam specifically to a new level. This is personally one of my favorite jams from the Japan tour, and Reba is a song very close to my heart. So let's get started. June 16th, 2000 at Zepp Osaka, Osaka, Japan. The set started with a limb by limb clocking out at 16:02, into Back on the Train, sample and jar, First Tube, Golgi Apparatus, Heavy Things, Dirt, My Sweet One, Reba, the gem we'll be looking at today, in Character 0, in set 1. And then in set 2, you start off with Runaway Gem, clocking in at a massive 25:44, basically 26 minutes of Runaway Gem. We could probably look at that another time. Theme, I know this theme is great. Dogface Boy, Driver, Slave to the Traffic Light, Julius, Bug, and ending with Bouncing Around the Room and Harry Hood. So a very solid set for mid-2000s, for the like a kind of mid-year 2000 set. Okay, so we got Reba, and we are going to start the jam right now and kind of just commentate and see how this goes. Great jam. So. Starting off kind of with the outro to My Sweet One. Right into it. Kind of can't predict it, but. Turn it up a little bit. Sip, we go battle to the night with a lipstick perfume, mother to a farmer in a truck. Take a bit of cheat on the prowl, and the case like a boulder in the water. Tie a cable to a tree. Mother nature to the night with a lipstick perfume, we go fresh a fish farm, left over thunder in a circle. Right off the bat, it sounds like a little bit of a faster paced Reba, likely because of My Sweet One. Before, you had the bluegrass tendencies to go into higher tempos, and so they are doing that with this Reba initially. Probably just due to the tone already of the show in the previous song. So it is a faster intro. Continuing on. Bag it, tag it, tag it. Sell to the butcher in the store, oh bag it, tag it. Sell to the butcher in the store, oh bag it, tag it. Sell to the butcher in the store, oh bag it, tag it. Sell to the butcher in the store. At the bottom of the tub, picked up the jar and screwed the top and watched it drop into the water. A little scoop of plaster mixed some coffee grounds and mud, and then she stirred with a ladle that her grandmother had bought her. Threw in a pot of melted wax, a 4-foot and a hoof. Apple coal, worms galore, a can of some corrosive. Coconuts and chloroform, some vinegar and some cork. Toxic waste, a purple paste she hoped was not explosive. Dip it in a ladle for a taste of recreation. Mike's tone seems to be pretty loud, actually. Maybe it is just my earbuds, but his tone in this specific part of the intro sounds pretty pronounced, I will say, for a mic tone. Typically, it's probably the residents of the room as well, in which they played in Zepp. And she knew that what she made would be the finest in the nation. Bag it, tag it, sell it to the butcher in the store. Oh, bag it, tag it,
sell it to the butcher in the store. Oh, bag it, tag it, sell it to the butcher in the store. Oh, bag it, tag it. Sell it to the butcher in the store, oh, bag it, tag it. Sell it to the butcher in the store, oh, bag it, tag it. Sell it to the butcher in the store, oh, bag it, tag it. Tag it, sell it to the butcher in the store, oh, bag it, tag it. Sell it to the butcher in the store, oh, bag it, tag it. Sell it to the butcher in the store, oh, bag it, tag it.
Compose section coming up. They're continuing the fast pace of the intro and the first verses um, into the compose section of the jam. So I actually like that. I tend to like a faster Reba to start off, and then when the jam drops into that jazzy, low tempo, down tempo kind of groove, it's very noticeable. So I actually like that. So I like where it's going, and I like the way it will eventually melt. I've listened to this jam plenty of times. I haven't heard the compose section much. I usually skip past it to the jam. So I just am excited to see how it flows and how pronounced it will be when it drops down, when that bass line drops. So let's keep going. And also, I want to put out randomly, uh, kudos to Fish for putting together this archive album cover because it's pretty cool. Um, Compared to like Pollock's Japan album cover, it's pretty cool. So I just like the stubs and kind of the color style, pink and like teal. It's cool. That's all I was gonna say. So kudos to Fish and the director of Archive. I'd say pretty standard grade, faster compose section of Reba. Sounds pretty good. Pretty standard grade. I'm not noticing anything too, unique about this section of the song. So, of course, we wait to get into the jam to see how unique it actually gets. So. Slight gaff of just Mike picking up the bass drop, but that's pretty nice. I know they're gonna slow it down quite well here, and it's gonna be a super good jam. Ooh. Mike's loud. Mike is loud. And mind you, we still have about 10 minutes left for a jam. So this is a fairly long Reba jam. Usually Rebas are like 12, 13 minutes. This adds an extra 3, 4, which is pretty nice. So let's see where this goes. Oh, totally decompressed. Super soft tone on the Ross compressor for Trey. That's like, this is why these 2000, like 97 to 2000, 2001 Reba jams are just like so tight because he really got that compression down. And taking off that tube screamer and just going raw compressor on that softer tone is really, really nice. Like, that's what I really like because it kind of pushes through the bass in a way that's like just very good for the tone of the band. I really love it. So let's see. It keeps going. I will say this is an extremely smooth jam. Like when I predicted that that fast composed section would drop into just something so smooth and like jazzy and relaxing and low tempo, it's just it fits really well because they really, really tuned it down. They really progressed a change in tempo, in key, really just progressed it. So it's a really good jam for that reason. I really like how nuanced it is kind of in a way. Just they do a really good job. Just really climbing the E flat Lydian ladder. It's just so nice what he's doing. He's really staying kind of on the lower side of the fretboard and just kind of playing around, I'd say between like 6 to 8 on there. Really just kind of playing around with E flat Lydian. It's such a key component of the jam, that key switch from minor to flat Lydian. It's just so it's powerful. And that's why I love this jam a lot. It's just very jazzy. It shows a lot of Trey's classical technique and a lot of the band's ability to keep rhythm. Because this is mainly a rhythm section. I think that this melodic section is pretty much a guitar showcase. There is some Page, keyboard, riffing on there, I'd say, but it's mostly just Phish and Mike and Page kind of keeping that back layer open for Trey to kind of improvise in that scale. Um, And this is just a really smooth jam that kind of showcases that. I think it might be the tone. You can really hear like kind of the warmth and the compression coming through from his pedal board and his amplifier setup. So it's great. God, you can just really hear the warmth. It's climbing a little bit more up there. They're taking a really long time to build up with this one. I'm noticing they're just really, they like staying in that quiet zone. Japan, I can just kind of picture a serene quality to it. This jam fits it so perfectly. They're just taking as much time as possible before building that peak, before dropping back off into the whistling and kind of reprising that intro. So they're really taking their time just to maximize the smooth jazz feel with the E flat Lydian and just pure compressor with no overdrive. And I fuck with that. It's great. A little bit of reverb in the auditorium. That's kind of what I'm hearing. Is that the reverb from the twin reverb amp that I believe he was using at the time during this tour and during the this kind of sequence of this 1.0 2.0 crossover point. So he was using that twin reverb. I think he might have brought up the brightness and warmth a little bit with the reverb and intensity, more than usual, or it could be just the shape of the auditorium giving feedback to the microphones, picking up on the studio soundboard recording for this jam. But it does sound a little more atmospheric and reverby than I think normal Phish soundboard recordings do, I guess. At least it might just be the show or this period of time using that reverb amp and turning up that intensity a bit. I really like it though. It's very resonant. He somehow kind of turned that overdrive on at the perfect point to kind of do that riffing and make it sound kind of flangy in a way without really adding any other effects. That was just the perfect place to kind of activate that overdrive. So now they're about to hit the peak and then drop back down. Seems so. Would have been such a cool show to see. He's kind of doing that pull-off hammer-on riff that I actually like to do a lot in my own improvisational jams. I take that kind of from Trey's this era, I think, because he did a lot of those pull-off hammer-on riffings in these scales. Um, so it's super cool to just hear him actually doing that right now with that overdrive on too to make it sound kind of fuzzy. It's super nice. It's super cloudy. I'd say it's a very atmospheric jam. Right out on top. So when they really came out on top, I mean, they like really kind of came up there, and they're kind of doing this down up elevator sequence, I call it, when they hit that peak. And this is a really blissful peak, I feel like, for such a good Reba jam. Not too much far left, so let's just finish this out and see kind of how that outro goes and drops back into a new song, which looks like to be Character Zero. We won't get to that today. You can really kind of tell Trey's really enjoying this last bit of the peak. Just really just frying him out there, frying out those fingers on the scale, just back and forth tapping and pull offs and hammer ons. So a lot of riffing, arpeggiating a little bit. A lot of really good improv from the entire band here. The band is holding such a good rhythm section, and they just keep climbing and evolving. It's like the communication is so perfect in this jam, in my opinion. That's why I like it so much. Climb to the top. Just kind of came full circle. I feel like it really just, they peaked up there and they're just back down to full band rock mode. Real rhythm section, real communication, real good improvisation from the entire band. It's a great example of a really good like type 1 blissy jazz jam, I guess, from the band in this era. It brought it back down to a regular pace. It's not too fast anymore, not as fast as it was in that first intro. The outro is kind of at a regular pace, but it's a nice fade out. It's a very good fade out.
Tag it, sell it to the butcher in the store. Oh, bag it, tag it, sell it to the butcher in the store. Oh, bag it, tag it, sell it to the butcher in the store. Oh, bag it, tag it, sell it to the butcher in the store. Oh, bag it, tag it, sell it to the butcher in the store. Oh, bag it, tag it, sell it to the butcher in the store. Oh, bag it, tag it.
I realized that during my jam takeaway, my webcam mic was totally screwed up, so if you don't mind the audio, I'll still give my takeaways here, and maybe you can hear what I have to say a little better. So, coming in from My Sweet One, it kind of took a faster pace due to the bluegrass nature of My Sweet One, which is the fast song on Long Boy, Up with Occupy Ceremony and all that stuff. So they started in with that, and they kind of kept that pace going all the way through the composed section. And then you could really notice Mike leading the pack through the jam in the rhythm section. He started that and ended it first and last note. So that's pretty significant to me. I think that Mike Gordon kind of leading this set a very slow vibe for the jam. Otherwise, I think it was Page leading the composed section, and obviously still going fast from My Sweet One. And so that drastic change in tempo was very impressive and super noticeable because they really wanted to stay in that low jazzy tempo for a long time. I noticed they stayed in that for about 7 minutes before they peaked out and went totally back into a faster, more distorted peak of the Reba jam, kind of like the blissful peak before dropping back down to the outro. Page took, I feel like, a back seat on the jam. I couldn't hear him much in the lead section. He was very complimentary and instrumental, a little more like mild in his tone, and really didn't really take up his spot as a lead instrument. You know, the keys in Page is usually a leader instrument up with Trey kind of interweaving. The patterns are intermixing, as Mike Gordon said in 97, I think. I'm not sure when that interview was. So constant interweaving of the patterns between the leads wasn't the case. Trey was totally heading the pack with that E-flat Lydian jam, and it was super smooth. His tone was very heavy on reverb, I will say. Maybe that is the shape and the actual, resonance of the auditorium they were in Osaka, that Zepp Auditorium. I'm not sure what it absolutely looks like, but I know it is an indoor venue. Or it could have been the twin reverb, because I noticed at this time he was playing around with that a little bit. Usually he goes pretty low on the reverb at his shows and lets the compressor do the work with the resonance, but I could notice a little bit of that resonance from some sort of reverb. Maybe the microphones were picking it up, or it was through the amplifier to the soundboard. He was very, very, unique and eloquent, very soft-spoken with his notes and what he chose to go with for the jam. He stayed very safe, I feel like, while also getting exploratory, more moving up and down the fretboard in a slower way, kind of moving up and down side to side, rather than just exploring and going really high, then going back down, or going up and down a lot. Rather than just scaling, he was kind of just hitting whatever riff sounded good, staying safe, and obviously staying safe while also exploring that E-flat Lydian territory, which he likes to get into for these jams. The Reba jams are just such a classic to me, and they do a really good job of kind of showing the jazzier side to Phish, the more classical side to Phish, more of Trey's actual jazz training, I feel like. A lot of the kind of Zappa side of Phish, too. A very jazzy tone. Kind of something like one of the jams out of Picture Nectar, or, something a little later like Hoist. It could be something a little, but it's very soft. It's its own thing. I feel like Harry Hood and Reba and something like Slave to the Traffic Light are very, kind of their own thing with soft jams. They have their own vibe, which is like soft Phish. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's like jazz. I feel like that's their jazz section of their discography. And so, my main takeaways, I think this jam is awesome, and if you could check it out on your own, I would totally recommend listening to it more, seeing what you can actually notice. And if you have any recommendations for me, of course leave them in the comments, because I would love to hear what you actually noticed in the jam, if you noticed anything different from me, if you disagree with me on some things. And I overall think this is a really good example of the Japan tour, because as we'll go into, I'm planning to do a Split Open and Melt jam breakdown from that Drum Logos show they did in Fukuoka, and that is one of the best Split Open and Melt jams to date, in my opinion. So I'm excited to do that, and all the Japan shows that I have listened to from 99 and 2000 have a really specific set to them, very tranquil and very exploratory, while trying to bring Phish to an international audience. You saw that with the Amsterdam shows as well, or any of the international shows they have done. I feel like Japan is just a unique location. It's very cool to see the jams and the setups and what they did differently, you know, how those auditoriums looked, because they were much smaller and much different from what they were used to playing. So it's a very good example of, I think, one of my favorite jams from the Japan tour in 99 2000. This is Gefilte Fish. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more Phish and jam band related content. If you have any recommendations for me, anything you'd like to see, let me know. Thanks so much. Have a good one.